All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I promise this is not a long presentation, but given that there's been a lot of evolution in marketing, we wanted to start just with a short presentation so you can understand who some of the new leaders are and the path that we're taking forward as far as the marketing strategy. And then we will leave plenty of time for the point of this today, which is a group conversation. First and foremost, we have an almost fully staffed marketing leadership team. As you can see by the dates, several people are fairly new, but I just wanted to throw this up, including Jeanette, our new EVA on the team. So these are your new leaders under each of these areas. And obviously, you are welcome to reach out and do a coffee chat with any of us at any time to get to know us better. Now, when it comes to our marketing strategy, the very first thing myself and the leadership team did as I ramped, along with the rest of the marketing team, was figure out how we would think about our marketing strategy. And what we came to was we need to make sure we're putting the customer first. And what is most important to the customer is the journey that we take them on. And that's everything from the minute they hear about GitLab, find out what it is as a prospect, through considering to choose GitLab over other options they have, of course, converting to a happy GitLab customer, and then expanding their usage throughout their organization. And the end goal, of course, for us is even to make them evangelists. Now, what's really important from a marketing perspective is different departments in marketing own jointly different steps within this journey, but we need to be together and act as one to have that consistent, cohesive experience along this entire customer journey. And so the way that we're going to do that as a team, and this is something the entire marketing team has had input on, is we will measure our success on the same joint metrics. Now, let me help you separate from OKRs. So there will always be CEO level OKRs that then go to CMO level OKRs, and of course the KRs under. Those will all fit into this. But what these success metrics for each step in the journey are going to serve as is a quarter over quarter, year over year success metrics. So we all know in marketing that the things we're doing are moving these high level metrics. And so in the end, as you can imagine, our goal, hopefully by the end of Q3, will be to have one dashboard that we are happy to share internally to anybody that wants to see it, and continue to watch these marquee marketing metrics to make sure that we're on the right path and we're providing that consistent journey. Now, I just want to give my leaders a chance to dive into each of these. I'm sure some of you that aren't in marketing, some of these metrics may not make sense. So each person is going to take about 30 seconds to explain them to you, and then we are going to hop into a group conversation. Dave, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so the first step on the customer journey is awareness. As Ashley said, this is the minute they find out about us. And so the goal is really to own the category so that as many people with the pain point that we solve are aware of GitLab and understand the value proposition. So this is especially important as we stand in front of a total addressable market and a primary competition of DIY DevOps. The quicker that we can get to awareness, the better. And so we're going to measure this as part of the customer journey. And broadly, we're going to do it by, what we call share of voice, but you can drill a little bit deeper in that. Press coverage, blog coverage, word of mouth, social, anything that really talks about GitLab and uses some of the content that we're going to be creating and some of the thought leadership content that we're going to be creating to have even more share of voice in the category that we're in. And so you can see in Q3, there are a set of things that we're going to do to really accelerate that. We are going to refresh the brand campaign with messaging that really hits on that value proposition in a more direct and sort of emotional way. We're going to have the next in line of lightning strikes on security and compliance, which we know is a salient need in the market right now. And then I'm super excited about the work that we're going to be doing with DevSecOps surveying. Val has done a lot of work on this, and we know that it grabs a lot of attention. And so I'll hand it off.
Carrie.
All right, I'm going to take over consideration. Consideration is a really critical phase where we transition from initially telling our story to really deepening that narrative. So moving from things like, what is DevOps, or what should I be thinking about when it comes to security compliance, to things like, how should I go about doing this? Or what are the specifics I need to understand? How would this apply to my business, my team? Or even things like, who do I want to actually partner with to explore this, or who do I want to work with to bring about this change in my organization? So that comes to life in a variety of different ways or tactics, things like online campaigns and content, which might include research or reports. That might be in person or digital events like webinars, or it might be programs like account-based marketing or with partners. So as we've sort of talked about throughout, this measurement's critical, especially at this stage. We love our acronyms. And so there's a lot of different metrics, like Dave mentioned, that we do use to give us signals to what's working, what resonates, what needs to be adjusted. But what we're really anchoring on is this first order inquiry to SAO conversion rate. What this is really about is how effectively we're moving contacts or leads through each stage of the process. And just for clarification, inquiries are when there's an action taken and we capture their contact information, and then that goes over to marketing qualified lead, which means they've achieved a score based on our scoring model, and based on sort of their activity and also their demographics. And then how that turns into a sales opportunity, which occurs when this SDR team actions those leads and qualifies that and gets it ready to hand over to sales. So first order, of course, is about a new logo and account. And that's really about our focus on capturing new customers, which will enable us to continue to grow at the trajectory that meets our ambitions. So in Q3 for us, that means focusing again on deepening that narrative and reaching our target audience in a way that's relevant to them, but also aligns and sometimes mirrors the sales cycle and the structure of our business. So for large enterprise, that means high touch. And I saw there's questions about that already. That's really about think about small scale to get big impact, in-person events, account-based marketing programs, which can be one-to-one or one-to-few if you have some clusters that you want to target. But on the commercial side, that sales cycle is faster. So we want to really mirror that velocity and speed. And we do that primarily through digital channels. So we'll be doing a lot of focus in commercial and mid-market in that in Q3. Last but not least, finding scale and building additional capabilities and capacity with our channel ecosystem, and enabling partners either with GitLab created content or programs, or partnering directly with them on marketing activities. So that's all about building our engine and our ecosystem that builds on and amplifies what we do in-house in the broader market. So at the close of consideration, those leads are primed and ready to hand off and transition to the conversion stage. So I'll use that as my nice segue to transition over to my colleague, Ray, who's going to talk through that stage.
Thank you, Carrie. It's very nice that you already explained the acronym FOSAO. And so I'll keep it brief here. The success metrics here for conversion is to look at over time how marketing can increase percentage of first order, since at this stage of our company evolution, we still very much focus on acquisition, therefore the first order business. And then certainly there are multiple channels that we look at to convert those leads into sales-ready conversations. I'll just highlight 3 areas that we're going to focus in Q3. Roughly mapped to 3 different areas that we think are key to our long-term success. One, many of you know the cross-functional effort to increase SaaS efficiency. Now we call it free to paid effort. The focus here is at the top of the funnel, focus on quality signups. At the same time, enhance the registration experience of our prospects and free users. Over time, hopefully, many of them will find value in our paid solutions. Now, many of the transition step of conversion step involve submit forms. So we'll focus in Q3 to optimize a lot of the landing pages and inquiry forms so that over time, we'll see more volume of quality leads. Lastly, I just want to also mention that there's also infrastructure investment to lay the foundation for website personalization, such as ready for launching globalization in a more systematic way. With that, I'll hand over to my colleague, Mel.
Hi, everyone. I'm talking today about expansion. And with expansion, that's about really amplifying the value of GitLab so we can expand the sell of GitLab within different organizations. And we'll measure that through our success metric, growth pipeline generated. And some of the things that we're focused on for Q3 will be the GitLab commit events. We have New York, which is September 22nd, and London, which is October 18th. And we will also the DevOps certification launch as well, which we're branded as Level Up. So we have those two things coming up in Q3. And I'm going to keep mine brief so we have time for more questions. I'm going to hand it off to Ashley to talk about evangelism.
Thank you. And evangelism is about capturing the community. We have a great evangelist team today. We have a great team focusing on getting those number of active contributors to trend up month over month with an end goal that we've set as a company that's publicly stated out there down the road, years to come. Ways that we're doing that is we're evolving the resident contributor strategy, and the resident contributor is those people that are sitting within customer sites and their job is to develop on the GitLab platform to make their company more successful with the platform, but also help us expand. And I've mentioned in an announcement on our private channel that I am hiring a VP of Developer Relations and Community. We're in some final stages there, so hopefully we'll have someone in seat sometime within Q3. So just to wrap up so we can get to Q&A, I just want to reiterate there will be a dashboard measuring all of these success metrics that we are happy to share throughout the company internally, of course, and we would love to hear your questions, comments, and feedback. I will stop sharing and open up the floor.
All right, I think I'm first. Thank you all for putting the strategy together. I personally can identify to a lot of it, so I'm really thrilled to see it. What I'm not clear on is the timing. I think some of it will be achievable faster than maybe other areas. So in terms of success, what does that look like a year from now? And then quite selfishly, as that relates to channels and alliances, where did those functions evolve to, and what does our brand look like?
So let me start with your first part. To us, the company has our company metrics, right? Our, what Sid calls North Star metrics, that is our ultimate success. What we are measuring, and you're right, Colleen, you're absolutely right. Some things like share of voice likely will take a little bit longer, and a competitor does something huge in the market or gets acquired could make that a little bit imbalanced. It's a leading indicator for us. Are we in the right direction with what we're doing quarter over quarter to hit those end company goals? So that's my response to the first one, and just having visibility, more quarter over quarter to the same 5, I think we'll notice some trends. Of course, we'll all have our own dashboards that we look at as well. Can you ask your second question again?
The selfish part around what did channels and alliances evolve to over the course of the year?
So
and the third part was the brand, but.
So from a channel and alliances perspective, I think that that's actually a conversation with our channel team and with you to figure out. Most of you know I went to the Partner Summit in Chicago and am very, very excited by how enthusiastic of partners we have. They want to help. They're doing great things. And so now I think starting with some joint OKRs that we're talking about with the sales team, we need to figure out the right strategy to really move it forward. And that will be in partnership. So I don't want to say too much there because we're still working with sales and there needs to be alignment there before. But I can tell you channel alliance top of mind and very, very important. Personally, to me, I believe it will help us move the needle faster if we can get the strategy right and the resources aligned. Did you have a third too?
And Ashley, if I can jump into on channel and partner, I'll just add on to what you said too. I think there's a couple things. There's, like Ashley said, sort of tangible strategy and some of the areas we've talked about. We're like really strong with partner motion, a really strong through partner motion. But I think there's other things too, like Ashley mentioned, like partners, there's an appetite to work with us. And I think we want to continue that both from a business and a partnership perspective. Is that, that it makes sense for them to partner with us. They can build their business as well. But they also choose to work with us. I think we also want to create programs that they're like, we want to work with you because from a marketing perspective, you support us, you build great content, you build great programs that we can leverage, and we help to build their business. So I look at it sort of twofold from the marketing side. There's absolutely about this is how we are going to scale our business, but also can we be great partners? And I think those kind of things together are something that I think a year from now, I hope that we can really sort of be confident in saying that if we're not absolutely there, that we're really strongly in the path that we're sort of a partner of choice. because it's great to work with us in addition to it's great for their business.
Awesome. Thank you for that. John, it looks like maybe you're next.
Yeah, in the consideration stage, we listed a Q3 priority as high touch activations for large. And I was just curious what we mean by high touch activation.
I'll take that one as well. Like I sort of said, like it's really those things about really being focused and not necessarily thinking about what is the biggest amount of people we can get to event, but like what makes sense for those accounts. And I think we'll start to look at it differently too in terms of how we measure it, right? Is not just, do we have a lead in this account? Are we doing things that we're getting a groundswell within that account? Are we touching multiple people in that account and looking at it from that lens? And so high touch in the sense of an event is actually high touch, right? You're meeting in person, or even if it's a webinar, it's about really focused activities. And that takes a lot more resources and time and effort to build versus digital, where you get a quick turnaround, you get a quick response, you get a quick sort of indication of what's working in the market, and that cycle happens faster versus high touch is much more involved, and it also takes that time to build. So that's kind of the thinking there. Hopefully that answers your question. If it doesn't, please call me out and get me to explain that. But it's really about more intensive kind of efforts and work that we would do in terms of marketing tactics.
Awesome. Thank you. Michael, do you want to verbalize yours?
For sure. Hey, Ashley, love seeing on slide 8, personalization. Such an opportunity. Just off the cuff, I'd love to just hear like blue sky, perfect state, where you see that could go, in a crawl, walk, run kind of format over the next year.
Who wants to take that one?
I guess I can take that one. That's in the conversion slide I mentioned. And so, Michael, thanks for the question. I think before we talk about blue sky perfect state, the principle I think we need to remember is we will have to do this in a privacy conscious way and security conscious way, especially given the space we operate in. And so we need to gain and build trust with our users over time. And then personalization have different shades of gray. I think the key is to think about personalization as both from contextual perspective as well as explicit and implicit. So there are personalization that can be based on users' action. And so I think the focus next year is to match what we display to users on, for example, open web call to action from ads to the landing page. So that's contextual, that's implicit based on the best guess from our perspective, what the user intention is. And then over time, of course, as we gain trust of users, we will get the consent to share their more personalized identity so we can display content in a much more personalized way. Including, for example, their language preference, which goes hand in hand with our globalization effort. And then over time, certainly, if they're willing to share their true identity, we can tie their identity to their customer status, entitlements, etc. Then we'll be able to display content at a very personal level. But I want to emphasize that the perfect state is not so much about very intrusive personalization. It's more about gaining trust to gain their consent so we can present content in a more personalized way.
Awesome. Thank you. Sid, you have the next two.
Yeah, thanks. I think the presentation at the front was super helpful. Next time, consider recording that and distributing that as a recording so we can use the sync time for back and forth.
Great. Will do.
Thank you. I noticed that the deck is different than the key review deck. In general, we try to recycle it. Now the go-to-market deck is a combined deck, so that might be harder. Open to solutions, also open to adding additional slides to the go-to-market deck so that the most important points that were in this presentation get across.
Yeah, so that's a great point. We are in the process of redoing the market. Marketing was very light in the key review deck, and so it's on us to integrate more marketing type metrics. And at that point, then we will use that. So for the next one, we'll be ready to use that. We just weren't ready for this one. And we weren't really sure how we were going to guide the conversation, given it was mostly sales, but more coming soon.
Makes total sense. Thank you. And thanks, Christine Lee, for correcting my link.
Brian, number 6.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. My question was about the word capture and the purpose of the final stage of the marketing cycle there, capturing the community. My question was about what that means and looks like to you, and whether it's the right word for what we hope to accomplish there.
I think it's probably not the right word for GitLab. After you wrote that comment, I thought about it and I thought maybe empower the community is better, right? So I would love, to take that offline and talk to you more about it. All right, Alejandro, you are next, number 7.
Hi, thank you. And I think Christine is answering my question. I'm just curious, looking to learn more. How do we move leads forward through the funnel? And also, as technology account managers, we spend a lot of time in front of customers. I think we're the GitLabbers that spend the most time in front of customers. And was wondering, how can we help if we can contribute? Thank you.
Christine, it looks like you have some thoughts there.
Yeah. Hey, Alejandro. Thanks for bringing this up. So in terms of the how, I linked to the marketing ops handbook page on lead scoring. So effectively, there's a lead score that each of our leads have. And once they reach a threshold of 100 based off activities and demographics, they'll MQL, which means they're marketing qualified. And then for SAO conversion, it's based off of sales acceptance. But I think your question was more around TAM contribution, which I was trying to think and listen at the same time. So maybe I'll just talk about this, but it's definitely worth a discussion. I think one thing worth noting is that marketing is largely focused on first order. So I am curious, like how much the TAM team interacts with our first order leads. But yeah, always open to hearing more. We have a lead scoring committee that meets every other week. So happy to get your feedback and pull that into that meeting and cadence.
Thank you.
I'll add a little bit thought here as well. Thanks, Christine, for sharing that link. As we move more towards enterprise opportunities, I think we'll evolve our lead scoring to not only focus on the individual lead score, but also a visibility at the account level. And so I think we currently don't necessarily have a concept of account-based scoring. So I think that's where TAM team and other folks involving touching the accounts can be helpful so that we measure the overall account engagement level versus individual lead score. I think that's the evolution path we're likely to take next year.
Thank you both.
All right, do we want to jump to Gabriella?
Yes, hello. I was just curious if there was any consideration in incorporating a tool such as Influitive in order to get more users engaged. I've used that in other companies. That particular platform has several functionalities that you can segment by different channels, etc. So I was just curious if that is in the strategy at this point.
All right, Dave, why don't you wrap up because we're at time. It looks like you have a response for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first of all, I'd love to talk to you offline a little bit more about that tool. We have a new director of customer advocacy who's starting next week, which I'm super excited about. As she develops her strategy, we'll also be taking a look at the tools that we need to support it. And I've heard a lot about them, and so would love to go a little bit deeper on that. So we'll follow up.
Thanks.
All right, well, thank you everybody for attending today and for the questions and feedback, and we look forward to